I love all the grand planning that goes into this damn program.
Yeah. What are you talking about? I don't know. Okay, roll it.
I don't know. What do you think about this? Let's do it. I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
Welcome back to the Politics Unplugged podcast edition. And as always, another busy, trying week in Arizona politics. And today, I am joined by former State House Speaker and current State Senator J.D. Mesnard from my favorite East Valley city, Chandler, Arizona. How the heck are you, man?
I'm good. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Go Wolves. Anybody out there that know what I'm talking about? Chandler Wolves. That's where I kind of grew up. Anyway, we're bringing Senator Mesnard on today because you're helping to cook up a ballot measure to avoid the governor. You're going to send something straight to the ballot that would extend Proposition 123, and this is the program that was passed under Doug Ducey narrowly. Siphons money, takes money out of the state land trust to fund education, about $300 million a year. It needs to be extended, otherwise it just goes away. But you're cooking up some amendments to that would change that has some people on the other side of the aisle there, raising red flags. I mean, one of the big amendments that you're working on is that you're going to include a protection for the state voucher program in the Constitution in this amendment. Tell us what you're working on in this ballot measure that you guys are going to be sending out.
Yeah, so it's important for folks to know that this fund already exists to largely fund education, and it's been around for since statehood. And we saw this massive increase in the fund over the years and realized we could increase the payout that goes to.
I'm talking about the state land trust. Right?
State land trust, right? So it's not siphoning money for some other purpose than what it was intended for. This was what it was intended for. It's just striking that right balance, and we did that 10 years ago. We increased it. What we're proposing to do is to do that again, to continue it, because it's supposed to, that 10 years comes to an end June 30th. So that's what we're working on, and we want to fund teacher pay specifically with that extra about $300 million. Yes, in addition to that, there's been the
So you want to kind of narrow the scope when it comes to the funds to just be used
true.
for teacher pay.
That's true, and that has been a source of controversy with some. Some folks don't want to have strings attached. They want to just give maximum flexibility. I think many of us, though, feel like teachers need to be the priority, and we could give about a $4,000 raise to teachers, which is pretty meaningful. Mm-hmm. If you spread it out around among more people, then obviously it wouldn't be $4,000. So we like focusing on teacher pay, but that has been an issue of controversy, as well as how long you do this for. Is it just another 10 years? What drawdown from the fund do you do? Do you continue what we did the last 10 years or do something different? So there's been a lot of variables just on that aspect of this discussion. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, as you mentioned, also there's interest in protecting the choices that parents have, of which Arizona's become kind of the gold standard around the country. Everything from whether it be charter schools, district schools, home schools, private schools, everything. And so that's been in the mix, and that has caused those on the left to be opposed to the idea. They have been, as we've talked about in the past. So it's a very controversial issue, no matter how you look at it.
So, in a sense, then, in a way, you can look at this as saying what you're trying to do is tie ESA protections to teacher pay raises, correct?
I mean, it doesn't tie them together, but there is an aspect that we're still fine-tuning the language. There's an aspect that ties it together, but they're separate issues, but they're under the how can we make education in Arizona the best it can be, and obviously paying teachers what they deserve is one aspect of that. Giving parents choices and creating competition is another aspect of that. And so we've taken a bit of a more, I would say, comprehensive look. If you're going to go to the voters, and which you have to do with this, by the way, this is not something we are going around the governor for, because you have to go to the voters.
No, the extension it was voter approved initially under Ducey, and it needs to be extended by the voters. The legislature just can't do that.
Well, because it's a constitutional measure. The state land trust payout is constitutional nature, so no matter what, you have to go to the voters. And so since we're doing that, the question is, what do we want to put before the voters? And what do we think would be appealing to the voters, given, as you mentioned earlier, how close the last vote was? It really squeaked by 10 years ago. We don't want to have a repeat of that. And so we've been trying to figure out, well, what do we think appeals to the voters? What's good for education?
Yeah, but what appeals to the voters? School vouchers did not appeal to the voters back in 2018 because that measure went to the ballot and was resoundingly rejected. I believe it was 65-35.
Yeah, and I was glad it did.
Yeah.
I voted against it. I think that what's lost on some people is that it would have voter protected that specific school choice program, which was very narrow. Ironically, I imagine that some of the folks who were opposed back then are wishing it had passed, because then they would not have had universal school choice several years later. So there's a reason why it failed. That isn't just because people don't like school choice. In fact, those who love school choice, many of them like myself, voted against it. And I'm glad that it failed, because it allowed for us to then proceed down the road for something much more expansive.
But do you fear, though? I mean, if you add school vouchers, you add school voucher protections to this, given the history of that. I know you're making you're making an argument for why it failed so badly the last time around. But if you add that to the Prop 123 extension, do you feel that you may be torpedoing this bill with the voters who don't want to do that, all that?
Yeah, the hope is that you create a package that has a variety of things where maybe someone isn't happy about this, but they really are happy about this over here. That's how we make legislation, frankly. So focus on how we can give, if you want to call it wins, to everybody in a more comprehensive way. If you narrow it down to a single issue, then it's all or nothing on that issue. You're going to have folks who support it, others who don't. And then it's like, well, who knows what's going to happen? But if you try to create ways where, hey, I love this aspect, this isn't my favorite over here, or vice versa, I actually think you can broaden the appeal at the end of the day.
Why not run separate ballot measures? Why? I mean, you've heard this criticism. I'm not bringing this. This isn't anything new for you. Why not just put a clean Prop 123 extension on the ballot, and then put a different ballot measure that would enshrine protections in the Constitution for the school voucher program?
Because as I mentioned before, you want folks, even who may be sort of leaning against, to have a reason to support it. And so if you separate them out, you can have a situation where maybe they both fail. Maybe one does or doesn't. Maybe school choice passes and teacher pay increases fails, or vice versa. I mean, I'd rather have it all go. If we go before the voters and it doesn't pass, then obviously we can revisit whether we would do it a different way. We have done polling on this, though, to see how this looks before the voters. And both teacher pay and school choice are popular. They each have their detractors. And so, again, if we can put them together, we think we can create something the voters overall will pass.
When are we going to see the language of this bill?
Well, I've been saying like next week for some time now, so I don't know that
it's a popular refrain down to like, we'll see you next week, maybe a week after.
My credibility's probably been hurt by this, but we are really close. It's actually very complicated. It's not just a matter, especially if you are going to focus on teacher pay, which many of us want to do, and which I think there's been growing sort of movement in that direction, even from some who resisted it strongly at the beginning, like I think the governor. And so it's very complicated. I would say we're like 95% the way there on the language. I was working on it just even before coming here, and will be this weekend I think there's a real push and an interest to getting it passed next week, but I don't want to get out ahead of my skis.
Aren't you worried, though? I mean, if you put the voucher stuff on there, I mean, people like the governor, not going to support it. Democrats aren't going to support it. Education, teachers' unions, not going to support this. As you mentioned, we talked about this narrowly passed 10 years ago. The voucher has had a bad history on the ballot. Aren't you worried about losing that support?
Well, I obviously want to get as broad a support as possible, and I've been telling folks that have sort of, without seeing the language or what we're doing, and they're making certain assumptions. They may be right, they may be wrong, but I've been telling them that let's focus on, again, the wins. Let's focus on what in this you would like. If there's something over here that's not to your liking, I get that, but we want to create a reason for folks to come on board. If folks are going to have lines in the sand that are, or red lines that are, absolutely not. If this is in there, I don't care what you're giving me, then I'm off. That makes it really hard. It makes it hard to govern. If we tried to put a budget together with that mentality as prevalent, we'd never get anywhere.
Yeah, but ESAs is a red line for Democrats and teachers, the teacher community, right?
Some teachers and some Democrats. So you poll this issue in a more neutral way, just asking the general public whether they're an R or a D or an independent. It's actually wildly popular. Now, if the other side comes in and wants to dump millions of dollars to try to demonize it, then it's going to have an impact. But when you ask the average person if you think that parents should have the right to direct the education of their kids, it's resoundingly popular.
Yeah. So who does get behind this? Who does support this measure? I mean, that's something you got to be thinking about as well as you're putting together this package. You got to be thinking about where we're going to get the money to fund this thing.
So my hope is that anyone who finds something appealing in this will step up and put some resources, among other things. These things who take money at the ballot. That would put resources towards it. Been having some of those conversations, and obviously the flip side is how do you keep folks who may not love it from spending against it? So it's trying to strike that balance. I think there will be some who just it won't matter. Again, you could give them the world, but if there's this piece they just hate, that they're gonna oppose it, and they may put money behind opposition. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, the ESA thing is just frankly just unpopular. For them, it's a poison pill on this. But Republicans, you guys control the legislature. You don't need a single Democratic vote if you can keep your caucuses together in the Senate and in the House and send that straight to the ballot. And again, we already talked. You don't need the governor's signature on this because it has to be done through the Constitution. But walk me through the process on this. I mean, how come this was something we didn't hear at the beginning of the year? Because there was a lot of talk about extending Prop 123 at the beginning of the year. I mean, I believe the governor mentioned that in her State of the State speech, even though it feels like it was a million years ago. Yeah. But she talked about the extension of Prop 123. Then how come we weren't hearing about this before? We're just hearing about this now.
So we've been talking about Prop 123 for about a year and a half. The goal, or the hope, had been to actually have it on the ballot in the last election. There are a variety of reasons why that ended up getting stalled out in the last session. So we're back again. As time was going on, as the conversation was happening among my colleagues and others out there, there was growing interest in adding this school choice lens to the measure, knowing that would maybe make some upset, but would make others happy. And so it's not that it's a new thing. It just has evolved more recently. Actually, really before the session started, we were starting to head down this direction and have been, at this point, just trying to get the language done so people can see it. And we'll put it out there for people to see. I'm sure some will praise it, some will attack it. And then it will be a vote counting measure. I'm not aiming to make this partisan. I acknowledge that at the legislature, if folks are going to have the red lines in the sand on whatever their issue is, then it could become partisan. I don't think it's a partisan issue for the average voter out there.
It's partisan, though. Again, to hammer the point, the ESA thing, that makes it very polarizing at the legislature.
At the legislature, more polarizing than I think in the general public, though.
Yeah, it could be. It could be, and we'll find out. Again, like you're saying that there were reasons why you voted against the vouchers the last time around. We'll see if the voter attitude has changed. Because again, I look at that vote, that result a few years back, and it's like, really seemed like the voting public was just not into expanding school vouchers to a universal level.
Yeah, but a great example of why you can't look at it just in sort of that binary lens. Let's say we send this measure to the ballot, has teacher pay increases in it, has school choice measures, which, by the way, it's not just ESAs. It's also charter schools and other things. And the voters voted down. Well, then can you conclude that they don't like teacher pay from that, or that they don't like school choice? Like, what can you conclude from that? All you know is that it failed, and everyone's
if this fails.
If this fails. And so everyone's going to have their reason. So pointing back to that measure in 2018, where I gave you reasons where pro-school choice people voted against it, people will try to draw their conclusions from it, but who knows? There could be any number of reasons why something goes a direction you didn't anticipate.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, what could you draw if it failed next year? What could you draw from that? Well, do they hate teacher pay? I don't think so. You could make an argument that they just didn't like that this became certain sort of education Christmas tree. Because you're also mentioning there's going to be protections for charter schools and stuff like that in there,
Right.
that they're not happy with something that broad.
That could be a reason. They just think it's too much. They didn't understand it. Again, there could be a lot of reasons they vote against something. So to draw a conclusion, like a singular conclusion, is difficult. Or usually it's done for political reasons. So we're going to try to put together the best package we can that we think appeals to the broadest public.
And you said at the beginning, you said you were looking to get like the broad package that could get a lot of broad support. Did you ever look at it like, well, maybe we're risking teacher pay raises and teacher pay to ESAs or whatever?
Sure, you could look at that either way. I think there's.
Well, I'm just asking, have you ever thought? Did you think about this going through this?
Absolutely, we've looked at both sides. I think there's this feeling like, oh well, teacher pay. Everybody supports teacher pay. I strongly support teacher pay. I ran the 20% by 2020 bill several years ago when I was speaker. I support increasing teacher pay. Believe it or not everybody thinks that's the priority out there, but we want their support, and they might have a different lens. They might say, well, I'm not really into a lot more money for education, but my kid is going to a charter school, or my kid is taking advantage of, or my neighbor's kid or a family member is taking advantage of an ESA, and it's really working out for them. So I'm on board for that reason. We hear those types of stories. You have a plethora of different viewpoints out there. And again, if we can bring them together and hey, here's what's appealing about this from your vantage point, then you can try to create a winning product.
All right, man. What else should we know about this? We're getting a little bit low on time.
I mean, I'm hoping for something broadly supported in the legislature. I think you'll start to hear from people once the language is put out there. So we're frantically trying to get the language.
So you're hoping, again, next week after.
Right. I know that as we get later into the year, you start to have attendance problems at the legislature because, unfortunately, some of my colleagues forget that while we're past the 100-day goal, we don't have a budget yet. There's some feeling that until we get a 1, 2, 3 outcome, we can't even really get to the budget in a serious way. And we need that by June 30th or government shuts down. So there's a lot on the line, and we want to move as quickly as possible. All
right. Well, Senator J.D. Mesnard, thanks for stopping here. I know you're really busy talking about this. Next time, we got to have you come on and talk about another non-controversial issue, and that is Chase Field and money to keep the Diamondbacks in town, because you also found your way in the middle of that.
I did indeed.
Quiet issue.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for stopping by.
You bet.
Welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. Boy, it has been a week, Colin. Colin Stanton, producer extraordinaire. Yeah. Wow.
Always a pleasure. Good to be here. Yeah.
It's always something.
Yeah, always something.
Always something, man. Let's talk a little bit about the school vouchers, man. I mean, it's being billed as by some as Republicans are trying to cook up build a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Or for Monty Python fans, maybe a Trojan rabbit.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yes.
Because you're tying teacher pay, to protecting the school voucher, universal school voucher program. That's the program that you can send your kid to private parochial school on taxpayer dime. Very polarizing program politically.
Yes.
And people are looking at us going, why are you doing this?
And I think it's not too cynical to suggest that the answer is because it wouldn't pass on its own.
And that might be. I think, I know Senator Mesnard really wants broad support and wants this to pass, but, I mean, there is a big risk. There is a big risk here that you are threatening $300 million in K-12 education. By the way, that narrowly passed.
Yeah.
I think back in 2016, narrowly passed. We did not know that night, the night of the election, whether it was going to pass or not. That's how close it was.
Right. And they're doing that to include protection for a program that failed, and it wasn't close in a previous vote. And to be fair, the senator pointed out that there might be some, like he said, he was the person who voted against it because he didn't feel it was broad enough.
Yeah.
So certainly there are people who did vote that way. I don't think that's why it lost.
Yeah.
I suspect that's a relatively small percentage of the people who voted against it because they didn't think it was broad enough. I think the majority of the people who voted against it very, very likely voted against it because they're opposed to vouchers.
Yeah.
So you include vouchers on this, and suddenly you lose all of the typical supporters of education funding going forward, and it's hard to see it passing.
Yeah, you know, another thing, I guess, to be fair, and I didn't bring this up with him, and I should have. I mean, I believe like the Prop 123 initially was like an off-year election, so it was a lower turnout election. So maybe they're hoping the higher turnout that they get more support for ESAs out there.
Could be.
And that could be, but I still think, you know, 123 initially passes by the slimmest of margins. The voucher program back in 2018 gets trounced at the polls. Yeah. And again, that was a general election. And I think most voters, when they're voting on those propositions like that, they're not as informed as the good senator or you or me. They're just going to be, do I like in general this idea?
Yeah.
And I wonder how, if the perception has changed, if voters have changed their minds, you know, in the 8 years since then.
I don't get the impression they have, but that's strictly anecdotal. I could be wrong on that. And I think people are going to be informed just because of the incredible amount of money that's going to get poured in on both sides. They may be poorly informed, but they're going to hear a lot about it before they go to the ballot.
I don't know what wins, what loses in this campaign, but I do know the consultants will make a ton of money off of this.
Yeah. I think that's a very safe bet, yeah.
So, you know, good for them on that. You know, another thing I wanted to just briefly chat with you about is how do you, just ask you the question, how do you feel about Veterans Day? As a holiday.
As a holiday, seems like a solid holiday.
Yeah, seems like it.
I did not serve. I think it's great to have a day for people like me to honor those who did.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did not serve. My father was a veteran, as a military veteran, fought in Vietnam. And it's a good day to kick back and remember those who served.
Yes.
In peacetime or wartime, because like even if you're serving in peacetime, you're still serving the country, man.
Yes.
More than I did.
Yes. Absolutely.
And you know, that deserves respect from people like you and me.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
But somebody out there, what is it? Wants to rename the holiday or just get rid of the holiday?
Well, rename it in a way that eliminates it. You can try and frame it as a renaming, but when you turn it into something it's not, you're really just eliminating it.
It no longer exists.
President Trump proposing that we eliminate Veterans Day and replace it with Victory in World War I Day. Yeah.
I don't get this at all.
It was one of those like middle of the night Truth Social posts when I assume no one was around to go, no, man, no, don't do this.
Now that it's out there, I mean, you know, we've seen him do this kind of stuff before, and he doesn't pay a political price for it. But like, man, it seems like the veteran folks I've been talking to, you know, today on Friday, they think it's a slap to the face. Because again, there are I'm pretty sure I'm accurate. There are no veterans from World War I that are alive.
Right. No, they're not. And it would also add like Victory in World War II Day.
On May 8th.
Yeah.
Even though World War II ended after we bombed Nagasaki in August of 45.
Yeah. And even so, if you're eliminating Veterans Day and replacing it with celebrations of World War I and World War II, so you got about probably maybe 1% of veterans covered now. The other 99%,
there's a lot.
Screw them.
There's a lot of people living who served the military.
Yeah.
That you know they don't get their day.
Yeah. You know, and wartime, so Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. Sorry.
I don't understand it. I don't get what the awareness is. Like, if you just look at it from a pure political sense, like, look, there's no Like, how does this get you votes?
I don't know. And
does it get you support?
Go beyond the political sense. I don't get it on any level.
No,
it doesn't make it's dumb. It's dumb. There's no argument for it.
Nobody was complaining about it.
No.
I've never met anybody who complained about Veterans Day.
No.
It's like, Veterans Day. What a pain in the ass that is.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody who said anything remotely like that.
No. And it's a Republican president. It's remarkable.
It ain't broke, but let me fix it.
Yeah.
Wow. I just been dumbfounded by that one today.
It's
I mean, there's a lot of other more serious things, obviously, that the administration is doing and proposing and working on, but this one just stood out to me because it just was a real head scratcher.
Yeah.
My father's a veteran. Again, like these days are important for their service, and they take it serious. And I don't know. Just
and it's coming from a president who has been accused of insulting veterans on a number of occasions and denies it. And I think people have chosen to write it off as, oh, those are political attacks or something. Well, here he is in his own words saying, get rid of Veterans
He's also been
Day.
accused of, dodging the draft with bone spurs.
Yeah.
I don't. And you can say, well, those are just political. He never got drafted, he never served.
Yeah.
Should be respectful. I have nothing but the highest regard for anybody who served the country. Again, I'll just reiterate, it's more than I did. I didn't serve, and I respect those who did.
And this just seems bizarrely insulting to those who did.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Another big story this week, Chase Field funding.
Yeah.
Governor now involved trying to keep the D-backs in town.
Yeah. Not that I really see them going anywhere anyway.
No, I think their options have been limited over the past few years because you've now got two teams who really don't have a home.
Yeah.
You've got the Rays.
The Rays, currently
and the
playing
A's.
in the currently playing in, I believe, the spring home of the Yankees, and the A's currently playing in Sacramento, while just calling themselves the A's. They don't want to align themselves with Sacramento.
We'll just call them the California A's.
Yeah. No.
No?
I'm still pissed off my Angels gave that one up.
Yeah.
Pretend they're in Los Angeles. And it looks like the A's are pretty well have things in a row to move to Vegas.
Okay.
But the Rays, who knows where they're going?
Yeah. So
and Henderson at one point made a run for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
I don't think the Vegas Metro is getting two teams.
No.
So that's probably done with.
No.
Anyway, good that they can try and find a compromise so the Diamondbacks don't have to pay any of the maintenance they're contractually obligated to pay. That would be terrible. Don't want to see Ken Kendrick out panhandling in front of Chase Field. That would be tragic.
I mean, all I'm saying is that, Kendrick could, there's been a lot of talk about that they need, $500 million for upgrades, maintenance, and all that other kind of stuff. I mean, may I suggest they sell a couple of his baseball cards, pay for a new roof?
They could do that, yes. Yeah.
Or am I being too cynical?
Too cynical? Probably not. I was just there a week ago.
Yeah.
For a game. Had a good time.
Didn't you see them blow a nice lead at the end of the game?
Yeah. It was.
It was one of those,
and it was.
Speaking of the Rays, they were playing the Rays.
They were playing the Rays. 11th inning, they were down 1 run, got the bases loaded with 1 out, ground into a double play.
Baseball's a long season.
Yeah. To be fair, it's a lovely place to see a game. Roof was open, which makes a huge difference. I had a very good time. It's a lovely ballpark.
Yeah, if you've never been to Chase Field with the roof open, you've missed out.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impressive with the roof closed, just from but the experience is much
you
greater.
You weren't sitting there going, "Damn, this place is old."
No, and I get that the problems are things we don't see, by and large. And I was there a year ago for a day game with the roof closed, and it was packed, and it was really hot. I believe there were some suggestions that maybe, just maybe, the team had dialed back the AC a bit as they were in the middle of negotiations. I have no idea if that's true.
Oops.
Certainly, I mean, no one disputes that there's a lot of repairs that need to be done. And the Diamondbacks are supposed to be putting money into a fund to do that. And from what we're hearing, it sounds like that's never actually happened.
I think we reported that. I think the family reported that.
Yeah.
So
all the concerts, everything you see there that isn't baseball is supposed to go into a fund for maintenance. And it, my understanding is that's not really happening, which is why we're here with the state trying to figure out how to make the city eat some tax dollars so they can go to the Diamondbacks.
I think this is why. I mean, this is another data point, another reason why I think the public's just fed up with giving these $1 billion franchises help with building their facilities.
Yeah, I mean, when you've hit the point where the Kansas City Chiefs are racking up Super Bowls and they tried to put a stadium on the ballot, and it was a resoundingly, it was kicked back to them with a laugh from the voting public.
Well, yeah, because I mean, and football is king in this country.
Yeah,
football is just dominates everything. I mean, and how many people watch the draft, for Christ's sake?
Yeah,
and they couldn't. The Chiefs, the number one most successful team over the past 5 years in football.
In a
small
city that
market,
doesn't have that much going on outside the Chiefs.
They've got great barbecue, Colin.
Yes, they've got great barbecue. They've got a mediocre baseball team that also couldn't get funding for a stadium.
They got great barbecue in Kansas City, damn it. But yeah, and if you can't get that through.
If you can't get that through in Kansas City for the Chiefs,
forget it.
Good luck.
And then you had that joke of a campaign from the Coyotes a few years ago who couldn't stand up to some activist armed with pieces of chalk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a case where the Coyotes had destroyed their image so badly that even when they came up with a plan that really wasn't bad for taxpayers as these things go, it was a fairly positive one. They still no, the hell out of my town.
I'm done.
Go make a half-assed effort up in Scottsdale and then take your toys and go.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of half-assed efforts, Phoenix Suns went out and hired a new general manager.
Yeah.
And obviously, they hired somebody with an impeccable resume who have a proven track record of building quality teams, winning championships, someone solid to get the job done, to get the Suns out of its current mess, right? Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Is there anything wrong with the premise of my question?
Well, he's got 2 years of experience working in a front office as like some sort of advisor. But he has a Michigan State connection.
So I've been misinformed. There's no prior NBA championships on this guy's resume. No. So, but he's managed.
The resume seems to be he thought Dunn and Iguodala were pretty good, so we drafted them. They turned out to be pretty good. Well, that seems to be the established NBA history here.
So what other teams has he worked for then?
Michigan State, few other college programs.
Wait a minute,
some good, some not.
I've been misinformed. It doesn't sound like this guy's qualified for the job at all.
We needed to change the culture. It was established the Suns culture needed to change the culture, and to do that, you've sometimes got to go away from what you have and go to the guy in the office next door, just down the hall.
By the way, that has become such a sports trope.
It really
now is culture. Got to change the culture. Like, it doesn't work in basketball. Like, football's a different animal, and that kind of stuff is important.
And the funny thing is, like, the epitome of it in the NBA is heat culture. You hear constantly about heat culture and how the Miami Heat has this set culture. And it absolutely screwed them this year.
Mm-hmm.
The Heat culture was Pat Riley would stand and bang his fist and say, I'm not going to give Jimmy Butler an extension. He gets hurt. And I'm not going to put up with a guy who gets hurt, so he's not going to get the extension, and I'm going to play hardball with him. So great. You played hardball with Jimmy Butler. He's now going deep into the playoffs with the Warriors, and the Heat are out because they didn't get shit for him, and the team stinks.
Jesus.
So good. Good. You can, 80-year-old Pat Riley can puff out his chest and talk about how he stayed true to Heat culture, and so they're out in the first round of the playoffs again. It's sort of,
that's absurd.
It's a little bullshitty. And when they had the press conference talking about how it was after they fired Budenholzer and we're talking about how there are going to be changes coming to the front office, I believe Matt Ishbia said something to the effect of, we need to set a culture, like these places that have a strong culture. And one of the examples he used was Michigan State. Like, what are you talking about? I realize you went there and you love the place, but no one outside of Lansing?
East Lansing.
Recognizes any sort of Michigan State. The state culture is Tom Izzo seems like a dick, but he's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, Tom Izzo's an old school college coach who just yells at players.
Yeah, let me stand on the floor and scream at a player demonstratively so everyone can look at me and go, oh, he's a tough fella.
He's a tough guy.
Look at how he motivates them by screaming.
Look at him coaching.
Oh, they might even make it to the round of 32 this year.
Yeah, wow, yeah. You know what that team needs? A good yelling. Izzo will give it to him. He'll turn that team around.
I'll assume Izzo's not interested in the coaching job, in as much as he does not have the coaching job.
No,
of the Suns. I mean, maybe this works. Maybe it works. I don't know. We'll see.
And didn't the former general manager that he got demoted?
Yeah.
I can't imagine him sticking around much longer.
Yeah, well, paycheck's a paycheck.
Don't we know that?
Yeah. And like, I'm not going to sit here and complain that there's a shuffle in the front office. I've thought the way the Suns have drafted over the last several years has been suggestive that they didn't understand how the draft works or what the point of the draft is. Even people who have been held up as success stories were drafted over guys who are infinitely better.
Yeah.
And it's not hindsight. It was at the time, they drafted a big stiff who projected to someday be the backup to DeAndre Ayton if they could give him enough skills to actually stay on the floor for more than 3 minutes. And they did that with Tyrese Halliburton on the board.
Oh boy.
And it was stupid at the moment they did it. It's not 2 years, 2 years later we find out Halliburton's good. No, Halliburton was really good and the guy they were drafting was not. So anyway,
well,
I'm not unhappy to see the previous regime shaken up. It's just hard to look at the new regime and think this is anything.
Well, I would say the old regime has a much better resume than the incoming regime. Why? The old regime has a freaking resume.
There's that.
And two, Jones is the former GM. I mean, he did build a team that was 2 games away from winning a championship.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I hope it works.
All right.
There doesn't seem to be overwhelming reason to be terribly optimistic, but who knows? Who knows?
I think I got to end it there, man. We got a busy day here on Friday, and I think you convinced me, Colin.
Yeah.
We need a culture change here at the Politics Unplugged.
Think so?
Yeah, I need to start kicking some ass around here, right? I mean, where do we start?
I don't know. Well,
I mean, what we want a culture.
Choices.
We want a culture.
Yeah, we'll start working on that culture change.
Next week, it's going to be a completely different culture here.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'll be, but
get that grind set going.
It'll be different. We're going to grind.
We're going to be full on LinkedIn. We're going to self-motivation grind set.
We're going to be like Michigan State of podcasts, right?
I don't know if that's good or not.
I don't either, man.
I have no thoughts on Michigan State, but let's do it.
They're Spartans. They're warriors.
Okay.
All right. Until next week, man, when we have a completely different culture.
Yeah.
Hey, see you guys.
See you later.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.